Hey, out of order cigars, and you're here with yourself. Anyone else in your room, maybe your probation officer. Hey, we support you too. Come on down, like the channel. No, you don't have to like the channel. This is the only channel where I don't tell you to like it. I don't tell you to subscribe. You tell yourself that. Because if you subscribe here because I told you, you don't want to do it. I take that as a threat. I grew up in the 80s. It was like, you better rewind. Be kind. That's a threat. What do you mean rewind, be kind? Or else. That was the real statement. I'd be kind, you know. You might want to rewind that thing. Yeah, or else what? You'll see. See what I'm saying? So you do what you want. If you want to hang out, if you want to subscribe, that's on you. I don't even like to talk about these things. I only did it in jest. I don't like to say the word. By even telling you not to subscribe, you're still hearing the word subscribe. It's all psychological. So that being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out. The channel is constantly growing, which means people are enjoying it. Because I don't tell nobody to make sure you subscribe and like. No, you guys are just hanging out because you want to be. You're looking for Richie. And tonight, we're not going to be really reviewing. We're going to be calling up Mr. Carney of LFD. So in honor of that, I'll be smoking the special LG 2013. It got one of the highest ratings to date, Godlike 97. Found the box over at Flame in Port Jeff. There's still like 22 left. Box aged 7 years. No one realized it's there. Got all my questions ready for Mr. Carney as of the other day. And here we go. I mean, it's like this, and then we'll call him. So, I hope you're doing well. Always remember to use soft, gentle lighting when you're lighting a cigar. It's preferred. It's like nice, gentle small talk. Where are you from? What's your sign? What sport do you like? If you go to jet lighter right away, it's just like, punch me in the, it's just too much. It's too much. You got to give it time. Give it time. You see that? That's not enough. That's not good. Take your time. Fire, depending on the humidity of the cigar, humidity outside, the pack, the wind. You might be thinking the fire is touching every part. Take your time. Better to grow the fire without puffing. So you pull the least amount of fire into it. You just try to burn the foot. You're not trying to heat up the foot. You're not trying to pull tons of flame in. And that should be good. There you go. Well, you get a perfect cherry. Perfect cherry. Good. Well, without further ado, let's FaceTime Mr. Carney. Hey, Mr. Carney.
Travis, how's it going?
I'm good, brother. How you doing? All right?
Really good, man. It's beautiful up here. I'm up in Maine right now. It's beautiful tonight. It's in the mid to upper 60s. It's one of the last real warm nights we're gonna have.
I spent a lot of time growing up in Maine. I have family up there. Is that Route 1 way up there, up north?
Route 1 goes off the entire coast of the state. I'm off on Interstate 95. I'm way north. I'm about 3 hours from Portland.
Okay. And just so you can tell, this is going to be the audience there. When I'm going to ask you questions, I'm going to be holding you closer to the iPad because we're so high-tech over here in Long Island. We got pizza, potholes, and I don't have... what do the people do? Do they do the split FaceTime, like on the iPad? How do they do that?
Well, they do. You got Zoom, and I do some broadcast stuff where I use Skype. So, I mean, we could make it high-tech, but there's no reason for you to make it high-tech. It builds character. We're like, they want it. People want what they want, right?
Hey, they come here to relax. If you look at my review channel, it's more like an electronic lounge for an hour. We hang out, we bullshit. It's not, you know what I'm saying? No, there are guys, and I give them credit, that are much more high-tech than me, and that's just not me. I feel like we're hanging out, and I know we've met before. Is that Matadors we met?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I met you at Matador, probably in Massapequa.
Maybe Hop Hog, because remember you had the event cigar?
It was Hop Hog where we were at. It was at an event.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little under a year ago, I guess.
You had the
It
box.
must have been like last October.
The box press, remember the box press event cigar that was around like Toro size, maybe 5.5. That really was one of my favorite LFDs.
Yeah, it's a 5.5 by 52. That's our event exclusive. The deal with that was a cigar that we were supposed to change year after year. It was about 7 years ago.
Right.
And so we started off with a little box press Lonsdale, and this was 7-8 years ago. And then we switched the next year to that Toro size that we have now. And everybody really liked the Toro size. I got a fire going.
Are you okay?
The smoke's getting in my face.
Are you on fire? You want to call the fire department?
No, I'm good. So what happened was that cigar was supposed to change year after year.
Uh-huh.
And everybody liked that one so much that we ended up just keeping it. And we intended on changing it, but 8 years later, it stayed the same. Let me flip this log over.
And this is the realism here. We're not going to edit this out. I hope that you're okay. You don't have a third-degree burn.
No, it's just I got a couple wet logs here. It rained yesterday, and so I live in Miami, but I spend most of the summers up here. And during coronavirus, I've been up in Maine, so I've been.
Have you been working from home during this because they're not doing events during Corona, kind of, because the shops were closed?
Yeah, we've been working. We've been working from home, and I've got.
And you're quite the chef.
I was down at my office for about a month. I just got back. I'm back last week from there. Sorry, I'm back. And yeah, we've been mostly working from the phone, working from home. Obviously, the virtual side of things has picked up significantly. It was always a part of it, but now it's a huge part of what we do. Fortunately, in our industry, we have that. It was unique because I've talked to a few people about how the virtual side of this has actually connected us with more people than what we normally do. And you actually have more genuine conversations. Because you go to an event, there's 20, 30, 40 people or more.
It's like a wedding. You say hello 1 minute every person.
Yeah, you just get a few moments. You get to say hi to someone, and then you're on to the next. So really what this virtual stuff has done is it's really giving you a personal opportunity to spend more than 1 minute and then on to the next person. So it's been great. Well,
and it relives forever, because that's why, like, I used to hang out lounges a lot, but most of my smoking is for reviews, because that one review could now go on for a year and have 2,000, 3,000 views. That means 3,000 people enjoyed it and learn about the product. So it's like YouTube, this stuff never ends. It good or bad. I mean, but I'm just saying it. Side note: how long have you been a chef? I see you on Facebook cooking. What is that about?
So I grew up in the restaurant business, and I started cooking probably when I was like 8 or 9 years old, working in my family's restaurants. We own 3 restaurants, so I've always been in the culinary business and restaurant business. My undergraduate degree was in hospitality management, but I'd say the last 10 years. I've really embraced it as a hobby, and I consider myself an amateur.
No, it's past that. It looks professional. It looks professional.
Yeah. So I consider myself an amateur chef, and I appreciate the compliment.
No, you're very humble. Your stuff looks better than most restaurants. I'm not even joking. I see your cooking, and I'm like, this guy's fucking good.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the last 10 years I really got into it. I started doing cooking events in shops, where I do an event and we do a cigar seminar, and I'd cook dinner for the people that came to it, and then it kind of matured into kind of doing some steak events the last 3 or 4 years.
I think food and cigars go hand in hand.
During COVID time, we started with some friends of mine a cooking show that we do every other Monday. It's called Hacking Gourmet, which has been awesome. It's been real fun, and we've got some plans for that. Where we're going to be tying in cigars and some virtual events and some virtual broadcasts. But we broadcast the show live, so we'll be bringing that to cigar events hopefully in September, and then we'll be.
How do people find that?
Some of those.
How do people find that if they wanted to watch your event?
The event's going to be through a retailer in Maryland. That's going to be our first event that we do. But if you're interested in following any of the cooking-related things that go along with cigars, that's at hackinggourmet.com. So
Hacking Gourmet.
Hackinggourmet.com, and we do live episodes, and we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, the whole deal. So yeah, Hacking Gourmet. But we'll be launching some steak events and some cooking and culinary events around the cigar industry within the next month, and then we'll be launching a full scale. We'll be trying to do really essentially as many as possible over the next 6 to 8 months.
I like that. Now, before I get to my questions, I have two serious questions. One, what are you smoking?
Right now, I'm smoking I'm actually smoking an event exclusive cigar. Right now, I'm smoking a TAA event exclusive. This is a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, Cameroon binder, Dominican filler. It's a 6.5 by 54 box press Toro. The TAA event exclusive. I had a box of these downstairs, and I thought tonight would be a nice night to smoke it. It's medium plus. It's not super full bodied like some of our blends,
Right.
but it's I'd say it's got a little bit more natural earth taste to it than our regular event cigar that we use. A little bit bigger size, but the San Andreas tends to be a really earthy and dry tobacco in terms of the mouthfeel,
Yeah.
the way it hits your palate. I prefer San Andreas, and then my second favorite tobacco is Cameroon, which is the binder. So you get a lot of earthiness from the wrapper, and then the flavor profile and the natural sweetness you get from Cameroon.
Right. I feel it's like a dynamic, like polar opposites, but somehow they mix together and make a real nice medium. Because, right, the San Andreas is generally very dark and very strong. Cameroon is very nutty and very sweet, and you put them together. Now, if you reversed it and made the Cameroon the wrapper and made the Mexican San Andreas the binder, how would that change it?
In my opinion, I don't think it would change it that much, because you're still binder and wrapper are essentially the same amount of tobacco.
Right.
So it's just, I guess, it's changing which one's combusting first. But they're essentially both combusting at the same time. So in my opinion, I don't really think if you swap binder and filler, if it's exactly the same, that you're going to see a significant difference in the flavor of the smoke and the way that it feels on your palate. However,
Visually, it would look different.
Visually appealing, and then on your tongue, not from the smoking, the actual tobacco itself would have a naturally different taste to it. San Andreas tobacco tends to be a little drier in terms of the flavor profile.
And very toothy too, San Andreas. Very toothy on the feel.
Yeah. So, but if you swap binder and wrapper.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah.
In my view, it doesn't really change the performance of the product, because they're essentially the same thing. They're just one's on top of the other.
Oh, that's interesting. While I've got the questions ready, what'd you feel about the new Batman commercial? Did you watch this?
I did, man. Super dark. Awesome.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be really dark. I like the characters that they introduced into it. The cast is phenomenal. I think Patterson's going to do an awesome job. So I give the trailer on that a 9.5 out of 10. I'm pumped up for it.
They went full oscuro. They went double oscuro on that. That was such a dark beginning. So simple. Masking tape, duct tape. The guy's just killing people with a magic marker and duct tape. I was like, man, this is going to be a real, grounded, a realistic movie. It made even the Nolan seem fantastical. It just seemed like this could really happen. Like Batman's fighting with the policeman. He's not superpowers. He's in a cage. You saw him in the, he's getting shot. Like he's making mistakes. Like he's brand new.
I mean, one of the best parts of it when he was beating that guy's face in on the ground.
Oh. The first time you saw that, I was just like, and then he hit him again, and I'm like, all right, you got me.
Yeah.
He wins. He wins. Without further ado, how did you meet LFD? How did that work out, meeting Lito? Or did you meet Lito first? How'd you get the job?
Sorry, you cut out there.
Okay, how did you get the job with Lito at LFD?
So I was in grad school down in Orlando. I lived in Orlando for about 8 or 9 years, and I was in grad school, and I hung out at a little cigar shop in town there. It was called Havana Sensation. It's no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
And Lito's son, Tony, who was actually the blender of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 in our Lennox, Tony had just graduated from college and started working in the industry as a sales rep for the company in Florida. So I started a relationship with him probably 2009, 2010. And I was in grad school. This was during the housing market decline there in the housing market, during essentially a recession. And Tony was in there as our sales rep. We did events with him, so we started to create a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a sales rep opportunity in the Northeast. It was New York and New England. So anyway, I just had a good relationship with Tony. The gentleman who was in my position that I have now at the time, his name was Andrew Brennan. Andrew and I talked quite a bit, and I ended up putting my things into storage in Orlando. in 2010, 2011. I'm losing track now. My things are still in storage down there in Orlando from the day that I moved. And I moved up to Boston and covered New England and New York for about a year and a half, and then some things led into me getting promoted into this role. And we had a lot of changes, and there was a lot of growth opportunity where we were going as a company. But yeah, no, my relationship with the company started with Lito's son, Tony. I really didn't know Lito other than by name prior to that, and my connection with the company was Tony.
That must have been a big leap of faith to go from where you were at, out of your comfort zone, to go all the way up to Boston. Did you have family up there in the Northeast, or no?
I'm from Maine originally, and my family's up in Maine, and then I also have my sister lives in the Boston area. So I moved up to their area. Actually, I lived with her for a short period of time. I was, it was a challenging time in general. I had lost my job prior to going to grad school. So there really wasn't a lot going on. There weren't a ton of jobs going around. There was a lot of uncertainty at that time. Less significant than what we're looking at now with coronavirus and all the other things that are going on. But it was a challenging time in 2009, 2010. And so for me, it was a move back home. So yeah, it was a leap of faith, but for me, it was the next logical progression was to try to get home. I never thought this was going to be 10 years. I've been here now almost 10 years. I didn't think that was going to be a reality, but I thought that was a good progression and a good stepping stone for me to get back up to the Northeast, to actually where my comfort zone was and where there was some positive things going on. But yeah, everything worked out really well, and I was in the right place at the right time and had the right skill set, and the rest is history. And I've been in this position now for 8 years.
We might be related because I have family in Boston as well and in Maine. What are the chances of that? Are you like my cousin by any chance?
Sorry, I missed you there.
I said, I have family in Boston as well, besides Maine. We might be cousins or something like that.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't know.
You certainly could be.
Okay. LFD, when you started to where it is now, let's just say when you started it was at number 5, how much bigger it is? Like you know what I'm saying? Is it 10? Is it double the size? From 10 years, what's the growth in 10 years?
I'd say we've probably grown 50 to 60%.
Okay.
The goal with Lito, the goal that Lito and his wife have had has always been to grow when we can grow and not compromise the quality. I hear a lot of the time, you're like, oh, your stuff's always back order. Your stuff's always back order. Well, it's back order because we sell it all. All of it. I mean, we don't...
And you don't compromise. You won't release stuff that's not ready.
Yeah, and we don't have cigars just sitting around. So every year we do add more cigars. We make more. It's a small amount. We try to grow, 5 to 10% growth a year is significantly higher than what the industry grows. But since I've been with the company, we've grown about 5 to 10% every single year. It's been controlled growth, some years bigger, some years smaller. But every year the demand continues to increase because people want quality products. And, we have cigars that are priced all in different areas, but I think our cigars are priced very fairly.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a cigar for $6 and you can get one up to, 25 or 30. And each of them are all going to perform very well at a high level. And, our number one selling SKU is $9.50, which is a good price point in today's market.
Yeah.
So you have our top selling cigar, which is it's called the Double Hero 700 Maduro. It gets back order from time to time. People are like, oh, you guys have back order problems. You have back order problems. The last time I checked, selling every single thing you make, wasn't a significant, problem where it's like an anger type situation. You're like, oh, you can't figure this out. No, we're just a small size company. We try to make as much as we can, and people like them, and so they move faster. And the demand, however, is exponentially higher than the growth. I would say the demand for our product, we've grown 50 to 60% as a brand in terms of what we're actually making. The demand for the product is probably 300 to 400 times more than what it was 10 years ago. It was very popular then. I mean, right now it's crazy.
Well, that's a better problem to have than having products sitting around not moving. So it's a better, no matter what people want to complain, it's better to have not enough than to have too much and go, nobody wants this. So that's a good problem.
It's a great thing that you say. It is still a challenge. We have to be aware of that. We try to make more to meet the demand. That can be negative as well. We understand that. But I don't know any retailer or any business in the world that every day wouldn't love to sell every single thing they have, and then the next day have people come back and still want more.
Yeah. I never see enough. There's not going to be enough bull. The Lennox always goes out way too fast. And I'm trying to think, what's the other one? The Volcata. Those three, like when they come in, they're already gone. It's like, oh, they got Volcata. It's out. You know.
Yeah. But, that's a testament to not rushing it, because if the demand wouldn't be like that if it was a trashy product.
Yeah.
You may not be to your liking. There may be people there saying, oh, there's better cigars or this and that. That's the cigars are very subjective. It's people's opinions. That's fine. But the quality speaks for itself, simply because of those exact reasons. I mean, they wouldn't move like that if they weren't a good product. And I gotta assure you, if the cigars were bad, there wouldn't be a bunch of backwaters.
If your cigars are bad, I wouldn't be talking to you. I reviewed all your cigars, and I had a great time. I never said, and the one issue I ever had, you guys fixed that so fast, and that wasn't, I think, your issue. I think that shop, they might have had issues with humidification. You know what I'm saying? No. And how do you deal with that? If you have a shop that continually, let's say, dries out cigars, or they're too moist, the people complaining, will you stop selling to that shop? Like, how accountable are the shops to your brand?
So we monitor that, and we have a retailer's agreement that products are going to be stored in appropriate conditions. In 10 years, I've maybe only had 3 occurrences where I've had a confrontation with a retailer about the way the products are stored. Because our goal is, it is a natural product, so there could be issues anywhere upon the path. It could be an issue with us, it could be the retailer, it could be anything. So you take every issue very serious, and then you monitor it on an internal side to see, okay, is this the same person complaining all the time? Is this place the same issue all the time?
Yeah.
What are the issues? So you monitor that. But I'd say probably I've been 3 times in 10 years. Some of them been with some very good retailers where I've actually had discussions about, hey, we're delivering this cigar. I get there could be issues from time to time, but there's no issues here. So there's got to be something else, and we try to get to the bottom of it. And most of the time they're nice about it. I'd say out of the 3 times, 2 out of the 3 went very well.
Yeah.
And then one of the times left with the guy telling me to get the hell out of there. And I just told him I wasn't going to sell him cigars anymore because I was losing money by replacing everything. It was coincidentally, it was a place in New York. I won't say what it was.
No, you don't have to. I don't want you to burn any bridges.
It was on Long Island, and I just said to the guy, I said, have you ever thought that maybe our brand's not the right product for you since you're having all these issues? I was like, you bought X number of this amount of cigars, and I replaced 2 times X of that.
Yeah.
I said, it just doesn't make any sense. I think it's probably best we just don't do business anymore.
Well, in Long Island.
So I understand this, but you're careful, and when that decision has to be made, it's made with a lot of observation and a lot of circumstantial evidence. We take it very serious, and we would never, even if we suspected something was an issue, we would never approach that right off. It takes time.
Yeah.
Just because it's we like to give our customers the benefit of the doubt and give the consumers.
And you don't want to lose a contract with the place. If they if they have an issue, you want to resolve it so they still carry your brand. The goal is to sell the cigars, not pull them. But if there's a problem, I get that, because you want to keep your integrity. And if a guy has a terrible humidor where all the cigars are getting, there's one shop near me, and the cigars are always moldy. I won't buy from that shop. I see they wipe the mold with Windex off the cellophane. Okay, next question. When you sell to a shop, is there mandatory? Like, I know some brands, which I won't mention, you got to have a whole wall, or you got to buy at least the whole lineup. You know what I'm saying? No, when you sell to a shop, do you have to carry the whole line, or they could carry 1 box, or 20 of the same one, or 20 different brands you sell?
We do a case-by-case basis. Each retail shop's different.
Okay.
Just depending on what area they're in, what the demand might call for, the amount of space they have in their humidor is important. But no, we don't apply any minimums on anything. Now, it is a unique question because currently we have about 20 SKUs that I would classify as cash cows, and obviously within those 20, there's some killers products, Andalusian Bull, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Lennox, 700s, Diggers, Chisels. We just can't make enough of those cigars, so we'll get phone calls from accounts that are quality retailers. We're not actively opening new retailers right now. If something pops up and it makes sense for us in a certain market, we'll look at it. But we have people call up and say, hey, I want to open up a new account. And they're like, where are you? Where are you located? They'll give us the information. We have an information sheet. And they'll say, hey, I really want Andalusian Bulls, Chapter 1s and 2s. And, That's great, of course. Those are really hot for us, but I have a hard time supplying.
Those go first to the shops that sell a lot.
Retailers, and 98% of our business is brick and mortar.
Right.
That's a real fact. So I have a hard time supplying those brick and mortar retailers with those products. With people that carry 20 or 30 facings, have a hard time getting it. So now I have one store that all they want are these top 3 SKUs, which is rightfully so. I get that. But we're not in a position to necessarily to be able to do that. So, but we don't set minimums. If we're going into a retail shop, obviously we want things to make sense. We'll make suggestions. We'll make recommendations. If it's going to be 1 or 2 facings, that might not be something we necessarily get involved in. Just because it doesn't make sense to have 1 or 2 cigars on a shelf of a brand. If you're going to be servicing and investing time. So yeah, we try to work with the retailer, but it's a partnership. It's not you're going to carry 30 facings or we're not going to do anything. No, like we want to be part of what you're doing. I need to know where you're coming from and see if it works for us, and then if it works for you.
Yeah, like I've been to some shops that are like a little, let's say a mom and pop shop, but they'll have certain brands and only very high-end cigars, but they're not in an expensive neighborhood. And if you're like in a regular working class neighborhood, let's just say no one's going in for $25, $30 cigars, even if they're great cigars, you got to kind of cater to, if you're in a working class neighborhood, construction guys are coming in for $5 to $10 sticks. Your David off Year the Pig is not going to sell. So even within your company, you have $5 to $7 cigars, and you have $25 cigars with the 25th anniversary, which was phenomenal. I had the new Small Batch 7, which was ridiculous. And it's like, but are those only for shops that, let's say, you sell a lot to? Because the Small Batch, 250 boxes for the world?
Yeah, 250 boxes for the world. So there's about 70 retailers nationwide here in the U.S. that have it. We traditionally haven't shipped that product international. It's mostly just been here in the U.S. We may sneak a few boxes out internationally, but the majority of that product, the vast majority of it, almost all of it, comes here to the United States. So it's in about 70 retailers. It's an appointed merchant product, essentially. And what we do is we work with retailers that, do well with our LG line. Now, last few years, the regular LG line hasn't been out. But we look at retailers that have, an expanded part of our line, where they're not just carrying a few facings. We also look at a place that, if they're moving through the product well, if it's part of their plan rather than just something that's on the shelf selling itself. So we make sure that product gets placed in the right retailers and placed in places that are going to appreciate what it is.
I can't tell you about Matadors.
Products that we make in terms of not just price point, in terms of the materials that go into it. That tobacco's 78 years old before it's rolled into a cigar. So it's a special product, so we monitor where it goes, and it's not fitting for everybody. You made a great point. Like a 105 count box might not work up in Lincoln, Maine, where I live.
$2,200.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So we
not at a gas station or something.
We work with our retailers on that. Again, it's a partnership. You kind of have in the back of your mind who's going to be a place that that's going to want to carry it first of all.
Yeah.
And then there's places that want to carry it, and it might not do well for them. So sometimes you have to say, I can offer this to you because you do well with us, but I just don't know if this is going to be something that works for you on a long-term basis. So, again, it's working with the retailers and being in a partnership with it, but that is a little bit of a challenging product because it is so limited in terms of quantity.
Yeah.
So spreading that around becomes a little bit of a challenge.
Well, you got to touch that with white gloves because you don't want to insult a cigar shop and be like, I don't think you guys can handle a $22 cigar box. It's going to sit there. Like at Matadors, which is the biggest shop on Long Island, 3 of them, that box when you walked in was right in the front. And that shop sells so. As soon as you walked in, it was like, I said, what the hell is that? And I saw this big box.
Yeah.
And placement is everything.
You got to be somewhat careful when you bring it up. And I always say, hey, out of no disrespect, I'm just trying to work here. Do you think this is part of what? Do you think this is going to be able to work for you?
Yeah.
And I do that with other lines too. I'll say to people, even if it's not a high-end line, in terms of like the LG, I'll say it with some of our, I've done it before with our Cameroon line. I've had shops in upstate New York in the middle of the winter that want Cameroon. Like, oh man, your Cameroon cabinet's great. And I'm like, I can't sell it to you in the middle of the winter up in upstate New York. It's cold. The wrapper's going to crack.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be an issue. I was like, I just recommend to kind of stay away from that. So you can, you can base things off a price point. And I think most retailers, if you're having a business discussion with them, some will get offended. And, if they do, that's their problem.
Yeah.
Because it's my job and my team's job to go in and enhance your business. If we can't sit and discuss what price point works good without someone getting offended about it, then what kind of relationship is that?
I understand that. What's your greatest cigar experience? Not greatest cigar, but total experience. It could be after a wedding, it could be after a funeral, it could be a baby being born. You know what I'm saying? Like a total moment. Like, you know, we're like, you know, watching the sunrise on a beach or after, whatever, anything. You know what I'm saying? A win in court, whatever it is. What's your greatest cigar experience?
Man, that's a great question.
You could say one of them.
I have a lot of cigar experiences, just on a daily basis. So I'd say the times that I most enjoy cigars are really what's important to me. Not just the moments that I've had, because I've had some great moments with cigars, people's weddings, anniversaries.
Yeah.
You know, my sister getting married, my father's birthday,
New jobs, whatever.
Special occasions, graduating from college, getting hired with LFD.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, that was a big moment to me for cigars. I would say the moments for me that I get to have continuously are what are big for me. Like, honestly, what I'm doing right now, I'm sitting on my back deck. I got a fire going. I got tiki torches lit up. For me, this is the best place for me to enjoy a cigar. That's always a special moment for me. You know, and I look forward to doing that. Especially in this spot, as I said, I spend a lot of time in Maine. I also live in Miami, but when I come back here, this is kind of like my little sanctuary. So I really enjoy that. But a singular moment, I don't know if I can single it out just a one favorite singular cigar moment. I mean, it's funny when we sell and work in a business that's about creating moments for people, right?
Yeah.
So the more you do it, you don't take it for granted at all. But you just have more moments that way. So it's, you know, I can't settle down, and I have a lot of, every significant thing I do has cigars involved in it now.
Yeah.
So that's certainly special. But I'll probably say the singular, man. I had a really good weekend. A weekend about 5 or 6 years ago. It was my buddy's bachelor weekend. We rented a cabin in the woods, and I just brought like 700 cigars, and I literally threw them in the middle of the table over the weekend. And we had like 4 days, and we just honestly sat there and hung out, smoked cigars, drank beer for like 3 straight days, and it was just relaxing. Nothing got crazy or out of control. I was the chef for the weekend. That was honestly the guy that's wedding was. The guy who was getting married is an actual professional chef, so I cooked for his bachelor weekend so he could relax. So that's it. Moments like that for me are huge, and that was special. And that was a really special time in having that. So I would single a moment out like that. But for me, it's every significant moment has a cigar with it. So it's, you know, I get every moment really. Anytime I light up a cigar is significant. That's
interesting. Now, would you say is Lito your boss that's a friend, or he's a friend that's your boss?
I would say certainly he's my boss that's become a friend.
Okay.
And he and his wife have really become like family. They treat me like, they treat me incredibly well. I feel like I'm part of what they're doing. It's really a family feel there. Like we've joked around before. Internally it's like, oh, you kind of inherited like another son. So
yeah.
They got 3 kids, and they're like, oh, we got 4. And like, oh yeah, we have 4 kids now. I have 5. So yeah, I'd say he was a boss that became a friend. The same thing with his wife. But it's always boss first, friend second for me. The relationship grew as that way, and that's the way I like to keep it, especially in the role I'm in. But we do have a strong friendship and a strong relationship as well. But I know my boundaries and the respect levels of both of them.
Yeah, so he was your boss first, then became you earned his friendship, which sometimes is the best one. It wasn't just handed out, and you earned your keep. He trusted you as a business, and that's a great friendship, because if he could rely on you in business, he could rely on you as a friend. But like, it's smart. You keep. There's always a level of respect, and that.
Yeah, it comes both ways. You know what I mean? They respect me as a personal relationship that we have, and also as an employee. So it's I appreciate that they also respect that too.
I could tell you respect them because I could tell you enjoy working there. You know, it's one thing if you work somewhere, but after work, if you don't like your boss, you're not going to respect them behind, when the clock is off. So you would definitely enjoy working for LFD, and you take it seriously. And that to enjoy what you do is the best job in the world. It's not even work anymore. You know, if you enjoy what you're doing, it's the best thing.
And I tell people, like, oh, do you like working there? And I said, here's the thing. Like, I'm a single. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm in my mid-30s. I can do whatever I want. I can live wherever I want. If I didn't like working there, I said to people, do I look like the type of person that would stick around in something that I don't like?
Yeah.
I was like, I love it. I go, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't even be here. I go, if there was something about it that I didn't like, I wouldn't be there. I go, so it's a great situation. It's a great opportunity, and it's the growth they've had and their vision for what they have as a company and what they continue to have for the futures really lines up with where I'm at. So yeah, I'm here because I want to be, and I'm here because I appreciate and really believe in what they're doing.
That's great. When things get back to normal, or when they were normal, how many days were you on the road doing events, or just dealing with the companies and going into the store?
So in 2019, I had 186 flights.
Oh, that's it?
186. So far this year, I've only had 28.
Okay.
So I've only done 28. Out of those 28 flights, only 2 of them are in the last 6 months.
Okay.
So I was on the road every week. The biggest year I had 1 year I was on the road for 305 days. I'm on the road about 48 out of the 52 weeks a year. Thanksgiving, Christmas, I'm generally off. I take like a week or 2 of vacation. But yeah, generally 48 out of 52 weeks. So yeah, this has been a real change. This is the longest I've been stationary for 10 years.
Well, it's a nice change up. I've seen you do a lot of videos where I make comments too. I'm the annoying guy constantly saying, when are you going to make Andalusian Bull Pequeños or Lanceros? Can you talk about that?
So we have, there's no plans for any additional Andalusian bull sizes in terms of regular production. Or part of the regular production of the limited production of Andalusian bull. We have messed around with a couple different sizes. If you're ever fortunate to get down to our factory or be around an event that Tony is at, he does carry around this little, essentially a Corona size of the Andalusian bull, which is phenomenal. But now that the FDA situation with substantial equivalency slowed down a little bit, maybe that is something we could look at in the future, and if that stays a friendly position for the cigar industry, we may be able to look at doing some different sizes there in the future. But as of right now, there's no plans for any adjustments to the Andalusian bull. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Oh, I get that. So you would never change the size on the bull either, even like, let's say, a normal Toro? Like, what makes that size so special to that blend? Because there is no other cigar in that shape.
No, it's essentially an augmented Solomon. And it was, I can't remember where it was at, but it was in Europe. And Lito was in a cigar shop. I think it might have been Switzerland or Sweden, or I can't remember. He was somewhere in Europe, and Lito was born in Spain. His dad was Portuguese. He was born in Spain, but he grew up in Uruguay. So he was sitting there, and there's this mold on the wall, this old wooden mold. He's like, man, he goes, that's kind of cool. He's like, do you mind if I take a picture of that or whatever, or buy it from you? He's like, I'd buy it from you if you let me. He's like, no, just take it. Because he just liked the shape of it. He brought it back and made it into some more modern molds.
And that made Cigar of the Year.
That came from. It was just an old cigar mold that was on the wall. And Lito's like, I've never seen that shape like that. Instead of like the augmented Solomon, it's essentially a Solomon with the bottom half-inch. It's a shape difference, a little bulbous at the bottom.
Yeah.
But it's a 64 ring gauge at the end. So yeah, that came from just a cigar shop over in Europe. It was on the wall, and he liked it and brought it back, and thought that was something fun. At the same time, he'd been to Spain, I believe, on that trip as well. So it was in his mind wanting to do something to pay homage from where he came from. The Andalusian bull is obviously a Spanish bullfighting theme.
Right.
And he, it was the same trip, and it was in his head, and he was like, that would be perfect to do that. So that's where that size came from.
Now, I already know the story about your boss. Do you want to tell them about how he got into it, how he was selling jewelry, and how he got out of that, and the reason why? I mean, maybe just give him a little quick story. It's kind of exciting.
So Lito had a ton of different stuff that he did. He doesn't have a high school education. Everything he's done has been self-taught. He just worked his way up through everything. But when he was growing up, when he was young, he was in trade school, and he was an electrician. So anyway, that's what he was studying to be. He was in trade school for electrical work. Anyway, he started to play soccer. He wanted to be a professional soccer player. But anyway, it didn't really work out. He ended up moving to Toronto, which is one of the more logical steps to coming to the United States. Is North America. A lot of Central American countries and South American countries, will immigrate to Canada first, and they work their way to the United States. So he immigrated to Toronto and then found his way down into the United States and Florida. And through a bunch of different stuff that he did, he was in the restaurant business for a time, bars, clubs, all sorts of different stuff. He started a pawn shop in like the mid to late 80s and a jewelry store. He was in the jewelry business. He was always into jewelry. And he'd been robbed on several occasions, but this one occasion, he was held at gunpoint. They tied him up and taped him up and put him in the back, and stole a bunch of money in the different parts of jewelry. And this is a pawn shop in Miami, downtown Miami, and jewelry store in the middle of like the 80s. It's like Cocaine Cowboys.
Dangerous, dangerous.
So he's like, this is ridiculous. And at that same time, he was into cigars. And there's this cigar boom going on. So he was like, he went to his wife. He said, this is nuts. We got to do something else. There's this big cigar thing going on. I'm really into cigars and I want to learn more about it. He's like, so let's start a cigar company. So he closed up his pawn shop, divested that, took whatever he had, and started a small cigar company in 1994. And then grew it into where it is today is, one of the top 5 hottest brands in the world.
Interesting. Now, okay, you got one question here. You have a permanent free supply of one LFD for life, but you can get a limited supply, but only one size. What blend is it? For free, you got this forever. Which one? Right now, Lito says, tell me the size and blend. You have a permanent supply, a box a week for the rest of your life.
I would smoke our Oro. I would smoke our Oro Maduro is what I would smoke. It's one of my favorite cigars that I have a box press in. We make a special blend for the TAA called the TAA 50th. That specifically is my favorite. We actually tweak the inside of it, uses some different tobaccos that we only use on that blend. So yeah, the box pressed Oro TAA 50th would be by far my favorite. And the Maduro, I could smoke that all day.
Okay. The main difference in the natural and the Maduro, I've had them both that you guys sent me in regular Ligero and double Ligero. Whether it's natural or Maduro, what's the difference when you say Ligero and double Ligero? Is it twice the amount of Ligero, or double the longer mature age process?
So the first blend we came out with in the Ligero or double Ligero line was the Ligero. So the double Ligero is exactly what you said it is, Travis. It's double the amount of Ligero tobacco that is in the regular Ligero line. So it's essentially just that. It's just double the amount of Ligero tobacco.
Now, when they double the amount, something has to leave because the double Ligero wasn't a fatter cigar. So what are they taking out when you double the Ligero? Do you get what I'm saying? No, so something has to give, correct?
So you've essentially got 5 different classifications of leaves on the plant. The ones that really matter are the Ligero, which is the top.
And the Seco?
The Viso's the middle, and the Seco's the bottom portion. And now you break it down into different areas.
Right.
And further, but that's really the 3 main categories. So when you're doubling something, you're essentially removing Viso or Seco
right.
From it. So say 10 leaves go in there, and then 2 of them are Ligero, and then in the regular Ligero line, and then 10 leaves are in the double Ligero, and then you're adding 4. You're removing Viso or Seco. Most likely, you're going to remove equal parts of each because you use Viso and Seco when you have a lot of Ligero in a cigar to help ignite the Ligero because the Ligero burns slower than those.
It's a lot thicker leaf, yeah.
Yep. So you'd probably replace it. Most likely, you'd replace it evenly, but it all depends on the performance of the cigar, and the way the tobacco's, put together inside the bunch. We traditionally fold our leaves over a set number of times.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you fold the leaves over themselves, maybe you add an extra fold or an extra curl, a little tube in it, which is like end-to-bar. If you add a little extra fold, that affects the way it performs too. But you're replacing Viso or Seco when you place more Ligero in. So you're just replacing those other ones, and then you work the blend to make sure that it burns well and determine how you're to position it or in the cigar, in the bunch. There's a lot that goes into it, but for simple terms, if you're doubling it, you're essentially pulling out the other 2 leaves.
Now, there's something your brand does nobody else does, period, and that's the chisel. And you do that to multiple blends. One, why the chisel? I know he liked it because he liked the bend. He was chewing on a cigar all day, and he's like, why can't I have a cigar that starts off like that? But what? Obviously, is it because it's selling? Is it popular? What is it about? Does he love the chisel, or does he do it just because it's in demand? You know what I'm saying? What is it about the chisel why you're the only brand that does it? Does he have a patent on it?
So we're the only ones that can legally do it. It's patented and trademarked, and it's obviously.
I'm glad I asked that.
That Lido takes a lot of pride in, and we as a company are very prideful of having that. So yeah, I mean, it was something he invented. It was a shape that didn't exist, and people are saying, "Oh, it's just essentially a box press torpedo." And it was like, well, you know, if it was that simple, then you should have invented it. So things that make sense and are innovative always seem less innovative or more common when you see it after. And that's why for us in the cigar business, in the cigar industry, the patent and the trademark on it was so huge because it's really easy to duplicate things with tobacco leaves, especially shapes. And this is not saying this is a copycat industry, but if a trend works, trends work. It's the same in any business. If something's working, you want to do it. So the patent and the trademark was a big deal for us. I believe that went through in 2013 when we officially got that. It might have been 2012. But having the patent and the trademark was huge because Lido worked really hard to show that he was not only the innovator and creator of it, but that the chisel had a home here at LFD. So yeah, it does sell great. Obviously, it does it really well. There's nothing else like it. And it's funny, one of the questions you get asked is like, man, this chisel shape's great. Why doesn't anybody else do it? It's such a great idea. And I'm like, oh, because they can't. So
they can't.
Some obviously it's very special to us. It's the only patented, fully patented and trademarked cigar shape and name in the entire industry. I mean, there's some patent pending stuff, but that's a really great, really special thing to us.
Well, it's so ballsy for him to think of that and do that, because if no one else is doing it, that's great risk. Because when you come out with a complete new size, people might go, what the hell is that? And it actually worked. So Lido is definitely forward thinking. To me, the guy's pretty fearless to take something that no one's done, and that's a lot. Think about it. You have all this tobacco and you produce all these cigars. When that size first came out, that's a lot of risk.
He's never shied away from challenges. When he gets something that he's passionate about, he becomes an expert at it. And he wants to perfect it, and he's relentless with it. We're working on some new projects right now that aren't they're cigar related, but they're not cigars. And when we announce it, it's going to be unique, and nobody's done it. And he's making them on his own. Like, he created the whole situation on his own. So he's super passionate about all these things, and when he gets a passion on it, he sticks to it until he becomes an expert at it. And then when he becomes an expert at it, he goes on to the next thing, but maintains his skills at that too. So, it's really fun to work around that because it's always moving forward. And there is no fear. It's a matter of we're going to do this and we're going to make it work. And we're going to make it work by doing whatever we're going to do to make sure it works and make sure, if it does work, that it's of the highest quality and, we can really stand behind it. So it's great to be in that environment because we're always constantly moving forward. We do look back from time to time. We celebrate, positive wins, and we celebrate, successes.
Yeah, you can never rest on that, though. You got to keep going.
For a short time. We're never settled. We're always moving forward. People are like, oh, what's the end game look like? What does ultimate success look like? And this is the same for me. I don't know. People are like, what are your goals? I'm like, just to be as successful as possible. They're like, what does that look like? What's your business plan for it? Like, I have no idea. It's like, I'm just going to get better every day. And, that's really for me where I've connected with Lido and with LFD is that's the same thing. He just wants to get better every day. He wants to continue to make great cigars, and that's always ever been his goal. And that is for me. It said, if you were to ask Lido, hey, what his goals are, I think he said, hey, I just want to make great cigars. I just want to be better than I was yesterday, and that's exactly the same thing for me. I have goals, I guess. I don't know. Anything that I do, I want to be as successful as I can at it.
Well, part of it is what we're doing right here, and I don't think I'm special at all. But the cigar community is huge on let's say, YouTube and the internet. Guys, when they smoke cigars, they love to learn about what they're smoking or just hang out and bullshit and talk about, listen about cigars and learn about cigars. New guys, I'm constantly learning stuff. I learned a lot tonight from talking to you. I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I don't think I'm worse. I just want to learn. and you were so cool about, hey, can we do this? Can we talk? And there was no problem. And so people in the community will respect that because when they get to know you as a person, it's like if you know the person as the brand, you feel more like, yeah, you know what, I'll hang out with the guy with smoking a cigar. And it's like if I met you at a cigar party and you were a jerk, I'd be like, I'm never going to smoke your cigars again. I've met some reps at a party and the guy was kind of snobby to me, and I'm like, I'm not going to smoke your brand. So to me, like building relationships with people, because cigars is cigars, but it's all about the people. The people got to smoke them, and if people like you and respect you, to me that sells the product. To me that's really important.
I agree. People are always going to have their own opinion. I'm sure there are people out there that got a negative opinion of me. I said my goals, I know I'm not going to make everybody happy, but my goals is to try to make everybody happy, and if they're not happy, that's a them problem.
Right, there's a lot of negative people.
What I'm going to do, and there's reasons why I've got to do what I have to do, and as I said, you're not going to make everybody happy, especially in this business. I'm sure there's a list of people that think I'm a jerk, but I'm fine with that. I know what I'm doing on a daily basis.
No.
And I know the reasons for why I do it, and I try to make the best decisions I can. And the same thing we do here at our company is we're trying to make the best decisions we can to maintain the integrity of our product and our personal integrity. And that's what's important to me. People ask see, there are challenges. Especially we try to protect our brand the best as possible. We're not a big discounted brand online. We don't do a lot of deals. And people are like, oh, you should do deals. You can sell so many more cigars. It's like, oh, I can't do it. And they get mad at you, and you guys are crazy, and this and that. At the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that LFD is represented to the best of my ability in a very positive light and is as consistent as possible for those people that enjoy it. And I answer to Toledo and Inez. And if they're happy with what I'm doing, then that's the opinion that I truly care about in terms of the business decisions we make. But the consumer opinion, yeah, I do focus on a lot. And I'd say the last few years I let some stuff go, brush off more than I used to. I used to get really worked up about people's opinions. But as you said, I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm not going to make everybody happy. And,
it's impossible.
The ones that I do, I really appreciate that. And they said more often than not, I think that comes across as genuine because it is.
Speaking about that, I'm going to go into a few questions about your competition. Now, as far as other, let's say, competitors, but you need competition because you couldn't just have a store with one brand. What competitors, if you want to say, do, let's say, you personally or your brand gets along with, and do you have any collaborations? Like I've seen, let's say, Placencia and Davidoff make a cigar together. Have you ever made a collaboration with another brand or worked with another brand for, let's say, just a wrapper? Like I've seen, like Oliva make a wrapper for Fuente. So in this case, have you guys ever done that, or is that simply not in the works, or or is there business relationships with other brands? If you don't want to divulge that, you don't have to.
No, so over the years we've done a couple projects, nothing big. We don't make any other lines of cigars. We just make LFD on a regular production level. Most recently, about a year or two back, Lido did make a cigar for Royal Agio. They actually got bought out by General Cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a cigar for them called the Paso Doble.
Oh, that's a great cigar. I reviewed that.
Yeah, it's very good. I actually have one left in my humidor. But that's been discontinued because of the changeover there, so that project came to an end. And then in the early 2000s, we did a collaboration with the Aroas when they owned Camacho.
Mm-hmm.
We did a cigar called the Face Off, where Lido made a Camacho, and then Christian made an LFD.
That's interesting.
So they switched tobaccos, and they all blended a cigar with the other person's tobacco. But that's been the extent of our collaborations. We're focused really on our brand. Doesn't mean any of those things are negative. Tobaccos that we do buy, tobacco from Nicaragua, Mexico, things like that, for wrapper tobaccos, but we always selected an agent fermented on our own.
Right.
But I don't really consider that collaborations. Those are buying from, other growers. But in regards to our actual tobacco, we don't sell any of our tobacco. So any of the cigars that we would use, any of the tobacco we use to put in cigars, just go into LFDs. So yeah, there hasn't been many collaborations too over the years like that. But nothing where we've been making other brands or made something that was an ongoing project.
Now, I'll say this about, let's say, competition. Over, let's say, the past 5 years, I've seen tons of companies Now, let's say you have the Monte Cristo Nicaragua, you have the Romeo Nicaragua, you have the Cohiba Nicaragua, etc., because Nicaragua has been very popular and a big trend. And a lot of guys I talk to go, well, only Nicaragua makes powerful cigars. And I sit there and I listen and I go, have you ever tried an LFD? Like, are you kidding me? Like, my opinion, a strong LFD will, how do I say, will give me more of like, not like it's more intense and more powerful than most Nicaraguan cigars. So what is it about your cigars that most of the time, in my opinion, you outclass Nicaragua in strength and definitely in spice? You know, lots of, you know what I'm saying? Like guys have this assumption only Nicaragua makes strong cigars, and I'm like, no, they do make some strong cigars, but LFD, like that, you're like the golden standard as far as the Dominican side. Like, yeah, because there's a lot of like, let's say, classy, mild Dominican cigars or whatever, etc. But if you want powerful on the Dominican side, there's one brand I'd recommend, and that's LFD. If you want to rock your socks, what is it about you guys? What are you doing different that other Dominican companies aren't doing, or they could do it, or they just choose not to?
So culturally and historically, the Dominican Republic was known for growing milder tobaccos because they're the leader in mild cigars.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Monte Cristos, Romeo and Juliet is the Dominican Cuban brands,
Yeah.
Per se. Fuentes was a milder brand. So the Dominican Republic, that was culturally, that's what they did. This is what we grow. You know, same thing where like Ecuador. What do you grow? You never see Ecuadorian puros.
Yeah.
You know,
No, you see Ecuadorian Connecticut shade.
Ecuador's wrapper growing country. Historically, that's what they did. Strong tobaccos came out of Nicaragua. That's just where it came from. If you wanted strong tobacco, you bought Nicaraguan tobacco. So why we're different is because we, one, grow our own tobacco. We only use our own Dominican tobacco. And that tobacco is grown to be as full-bodied as possible because before Lito owned the farm, he had to make mild cigars because that's what was available, because that's what was being grown. You know, there's a lot of different growing techniques I can get into. We'll save that for another time. But there was mild tobaccos being grown because that's what was popular. That's what the Dominican Republic did. Lito's like, I don't want to do this. So the only way to do this is to grow my own tobacco, because if I want to buy strong tobacco, nobody's growing it. If somebody is, they're using it for themselves. I just don't have access to it. So he bought his own farm and started becoming, you know, an expert at growing. You know, growing experts come in. He traveled to the top growing countries in the world: Cuba, Nicaragua, Honduras, Ecuador, and learned as much as he could, and then perfected that farm. And the reason why was he wanted to have a signature flavor profile, and he didn't want to make these mild cigars. So when you're growing just for yourself, you grow it exactly how you want, and you grow for the exact purpose you want. So the purpose of the growing was to make fuller-bodied cigars. So yeah, that's the big difference. Is we have control over the farm, we have control over the factory, and we're small at the same time. You know, we're a good-sized company. I'd say we represent maybe 1.5% of total imports into the country, which sounds big, but it's really not. You know, we're a moderately sized company. You know, compared to the big guys, we're tiny. But compared to the small guys, we're big.
Yeah, but you're in every major shop. There's no big shop that can carry you.
You can grow for your own purpose, and you're not growing for the demands. You're creating something new, and that's really what Lito's success was. He created something that didn't exist. He created full-bodied Dominican cigars, and it took off. And people wanted it, and you're right. It became, you know, he became the leader in full-bodied cigars, probably in the world.
Yeah. No, his cigars, like I said, if you said what's the strongest cigars, like as far as like a major brand, you know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't consider you guys boutique, like a little brand. You guys are a big brand, and you're in pretty much every major shop. I'd have to say LFD. I think your whole brand profile. I mean, some like let's say like the Bull, the 25th. Those weren't, you know, ridiculously super strong cigars. They're maybe medium plus, but your majority of your line, like the Digger or the Double Ajero, these things, it'll take you. You know, I like take you right out of your body. You got to eat before you smoke your cigars.
Yeah.
They're not to be played with.
You know, and even our medium-bodied offerings, in terms of the overall cigar market, tend to be a little fuller-bodied. Like our Airbender, it's a medium-bodied cigar for us. It's stronger than some people's full-bodied cigars. You know, it's a full-bodied experience, and you know, for us it's medium. But yeah, absolutely, and it's that signature flavor profile. I mean, that all comes from the control of the growing, control of what's the intention of that product, and what the intention of that plant's going to be.
What does Lito like to smoke on his daily? Wake up with coffee. What does he do?
He smokes our 2000 series number 2 is what that's called. Sorry, the number 3. It's a little box press Corona. It's now called the Cameroon Cabinet number 3. But that's his everyday cigar. He's been smoking it for like 26 years. Well, as soon as he started making Cameroon, so at least 24 years. And he smokes probably 8, 9 of those a day, even when he's in between cigars. Like, even if he smokes a regular size cigar, he's working on blending. The first thing he'll go back to is a Cameroon. And for me, I'm a big Cameroon fan. So I was talking to him about it. I said, why do you think you do that? And he's like, well, it's got the sweetness to it. He goes, I can always taste the flavor. He's like, I just love it. And I was like, you know what it sounds like? It's kind of like a palate cleanser. I go, you use Cameroon as kind of like a palate cleanser that like resets you. He's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's his go-to when he smokes every day. It's his favorite. It's his, I wouldn't even say it's his favorite. It's just part of his life. It's part of his identity is that cigar. So, as I said, it's probably his favorite cigar, but it's just part of his routine, and it's what he does. And
there's cigars you do on a regular basis.
That's what he has.
Yeah, cigars for a regular basis, and then there's cigars for special moments. Everyone has different opinions. Some guys, save a cigar. Now, in your personal humidor at home, you don't have to tell everyone for legal reasons, but how many cigars are you working with? I mean,
Oh, you know what? I got 2 places. So up here in Maine, I probably have about 500 cigars up here in Maine.
Okay.
And then I probably have about 100 down at my place in Miami. I used to have a ton. I used to have thousands. And then I'd say about 7 years ago, I was like, I was collecting cigars, and I was going around, and I'm in shops, and I was like, you know what? I go, my humidor is everywhere that I go to visit. I go, every time I go to a shop, that's like my humidor. I go, if I'm buying a bunch of cigars and stockpiling them, I go, I'm limiting myself to what I have at home. Because, I live on we all have fixed incomes. It's based off of what we make. And I was like, I'm spending a lot of money on cigars. I go, just to have them and store them and sit on them and whatever. I go, I went away from buying boxes. Now I'll buy 2 or 3 of something, and I'll put one in my humidor, 2 in my humidor, and smoke one, and then set them aside. So I have a lot of 1s and 2s of cigars. I don't have any, I have very few boxes of cigars right now. And the reason why was I wanted to start enjoying cigars when I was out on the road.
Yeah.
If I wanted to try something, I'd go in a different shop, and there's always different cigars in different places. So I treat the retailers I walk into. Those are my humidors.
Right.
Like what do they got? What do you have? What do you think I should smoke right now? I just got done smoking a Cameroon Cabinet. What do you have in here that's something I might want to try? So that's kind of where I step with cigars. But yeah, in any given period of time, I have a few hundred cigars around. It gets lower during the winter months. It gets down to mostly just my rare stuff in the winter months. In the summer, I stockpile them back up. But I smoke 2 or 3 cigars a day, and 2 out of every 3 I smoke each day are LFDs, and at least once a day I'll have something different.
Yeah, it's look, I mean, at the end of the day, the variety's the spice of life, and like when guys that let's say I know are diehard LFD or diehard David or diehard Padron, they still have other cigars because you don't want to say limit yourself. If you find yourself going to another brand to let's say clear your palate or change it up, what models are you going for? If you could answer that.
I'm a big Padron smoker.
Okay, I just bought a 26 tonight.
Huge Padron fan. I got into Davidoff when I was a rep. The reason I like Davidoff is because I like Dominican tobacco.
Yeah.
But when I like Dominican tobacco, I like LFD. That's what I prefer. I also smoke a good amount of Fuente, but for me, Davidoff is so exact opposite of what we are. They make fuller body blends now, but the Davidoffs I smoke are, I like the Davidoff white labels.
Yeah.
I also like them because I'm in the business, and most of the time I go places, I get a deal on them, which is
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
So, they're a little higher end. I'm not dropping $30, $40 on cigars all the time. I got to spend money on steak, right?
Yeah.
So, I like Davidoff because it's so opposite of what I smoke. It's the exact opposite of what I smoke every day. Same thing with Padron, exact opposite of what I smoke. It's, it's full-bodied Nicaraguan.
It's a totally different feel. Yeah.
Completely different. And same thing with Davidoff. Davidoff, well, it's on the opposite side. Davidoff, for me, is mild and completely different.
Yeah.
Dominican tobacco at the same time. My favorite cigars in the last probably year and a half outside of those, I'm LFD, Padron, Davidoff. And then Christian Aroa's tobacco. I'm a huge fan of Corojo.
Okay.
So I really like anything Corojo, and the Aroas are the masters of that. So I've been smoking a lot of the Aroa Corojo blends. I don't necessarily know the names, but if they got something that's got Corojo on it, it's got the name on it. I
You enjoy it? Yeah, well, for me, if I'm talking to guys and I'm recommending, if they want strong cigars, and I'll recommend them Dominican and Nicaraguan. It would be My Father on the Nicaraguan side and LFD because I find them around similar price points and both full-bodied, both long finish, very heavy. You know, just you rock your socks. And the other day I did the My Father Le Bijou 22, and then I did the small batch number 7. And let me tell you something. After smoking those two in one day, I reached my capacity for nicotine. I was like, holy shit. You know, you smoke two strong cigars back to back, it could be. Do you transition? Like you said, you'll do a mild and a strong, or if you do two strong sticks in a row, does it get to you? Do you feel like, oh shit, or?
Oh, yeah, so I have a balance disorder. It's a vestibular issue I've got, and it's exacerbated by red wine, sodium, and nicotine. Caffeine too, so I don't drink coffee anymore. It just gets me off balance. So I don't smoke a lot of full-bodied cigars anymore. I will have full-bodied, but I tend to smoke mostly medium-bodied now. I tend to smoke our Cameroon, our Reserve Especial, and I do go full-bodied. I smoke the TAAs. I had a 700 Maduro last week. I try to smoke a 700 once every couple of weeks just to keep it on my palate. I was halfway through it and I was ready to pass out. It's just real full-bodied for me. So I try to stick to medium. I try to stick those blends. When I jump to other stuff, I'm around. For me, I try to smoke medium LFD, which is it's full-bodied, but I don't jump into our double E Arrow too often.
Yeah, would you ever guys make those in smaller sizes? Like, I never seen them in Robusto or maybe something small like a Corona. Would you ever make small LFDs in the stronger sizes?
Yeah, we actually make the double E Arrow in Petit Robusto, Toro. We have 3 different sizes of chisels on it. We have a Chiselito, which is a small chisel. We have a Chisel Gorda, which is a medium size, and then we have a full-size chisel. We've got the Digger. We have an 8x54. We do have a Corona as well. So we make sizes, and those are all available in natural and Maduro. However, the ones you see most often
are big ones at the shop.
Especially in your market, you're going to see 700s, Diggers, chisels, L500 cabinets. You're going to see 700 natural. You'll see the Maduro and natural version of that. You may see the 660, which is like a 4 3/4 by 60. You tend to not see the Robustos as much.
I've never seen smaller LFDs, you know.
Markets, but I do have places that that do incredibly well with them. But yeah, in New York and in your market on the island, it's big ring game stuff for us.
Yeah, they want big stuff. Now, side note, what's your favorite sport and sports team?
I'm a big sports fan. I'm a New England sports fan. So
Okay.
in all sports, Boston, Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, Bruins. But I'm a fan. My favorite sport's basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan. I grew up a basketball player. I did play football too. I was good at it because I'm big, but basketball was my sport. Like even like right now when we've been talking, I got the NBA playoffs on right here on the side.
Oh, that's good. Who's playing tonight?
On my screen, I've been watching the game. So I'm a huge basketball fan. And I've loved what's been going on with the NBA in regards to the bubble. Political stuff aside, and the social statements they're making.
Yeah.
I have opinions on that. Positive or negative, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the NBA product in the bubble's been awesome. The game's good. They've been elevated. The players are great. It's fast. The camera angles without fans are incredible. But yeah, I'm a huge basketball fan. The Celtics are my favorite team. But I'll watch anything. Any good basketball, I'll watch. Like I've been watching 3 or 4 NBA games a day for the last month.
Okay, another serious question. Unlimited gasoline or unlimited ammo, which one do you choose?
Unlimited gasoline. Because I got a couple buddies that I know that would say unlimited ammo, so we'd be good to go.
Okay, it's a fair trade, you know? These are back-to-back questions. What's your saddest and happiest, and I'd not say best, but what's your saddest cigar experience? Let's say dropping a stick, losing a box, someone stole your box, you left it somewhere. What's your worst cigar experience?
Well, I got two good ones. The worst cigar the
Yeah.
worst cigar I ever smoked. That was about 13 years ago.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I still haven't reviewed it. I look at it.
I lit it up, and it was awful. So like, that was the worst smoking experience. That's the worst cigar I ever smoked.
Okay.
And that's not to trash a brand. I just hated it. It's an old school brand. It's owned by a big company, so whatever.
No, I never reviewed it. I didn't like the. I looked at it. I didn't want to smoke it.
Yeah, they're awful. My most disappointing experience was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years. I was in Arkansas for a grand opening of the shop called the 906 Lounge. I'd flown out. I was coming off a challenging personal situation, so I flew out to Arkansas to kind of forget about it the weekend. They had this great opening. I had good friends over there that own a beautiful store, one of the nicest cigar bars in the country, in a small town called Fort Smith. And I bought a box of these Winston Churchill limited edition little Robustos. They gave me this beautiful white and blue box. It matched my furniture at my house. It was the first box of cigars I bought in a long time. I was staying there for the weekend in the hotel right behind there, and I had it in the box, and when I went to check out, I checked out, and I got back to Miami, and I'd forgotten the box of cigars. It was like $400.
Oh.
10 cigars. It was beautiful.
Oh.
And I lost it. That was super disappointing because it was a little humidor box. I loved it. And they still have them out there, but I was like, I already lost it one time. I guess I'm not responsible enough to have it again. But that was a disappointing thing. And I called the hotel, and I was like, hey, do you have it? And they're like, no, we can't find it.
Yeah.
Probably got thrown away. And they're like, we apologize. They're like, no. I go, I shouldn't have left it. I go, it wasn't the housekeeper's fault. She doesn't have to check to see if I left my
No, look, they're like this. Yeah, we couldn't find it. They're smoking them all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we couldn't find it.
So that was really disappointing. But other than that, I haven't had too many. That was upsetting. And then smoking that Onyx was just awful.
I'll tell you my saddest experience. When I was in the war in Iraq 2006, I started ordering cigars, and we also got a lot. People mailed cigars, to Marines and soldiers over there. So I bought. Believe it or not, I started with some of these acid Cubacobas. I'm like, brand new, okay, whatever. And I got some other stuff, and then I ordered a box of Cohiba Blacks, and I was like, I'm gonna open these up for my birthday and on Christmas and New Year's, and I'll share it with my brothers over there, right? It was like I spent like $260 in the box, right? I'm new to cigars. Okay, check out. Long story short, November 19th, I have a 30-minute seizure. I go unconscious. I get medevaced out of the war. Later on, they mail my shit home. No cigars. And I wasn't even mad because I was like, you know what? Enjoy them, guys, But somewhere over in the war, there's probably an officer or the master sergeant. Hey, you know what? But my point is, that's where I learned. I never save what I consider, whatever I have, what my best cigar is. I always smoke them now. So if I have 10 cigars, I always smoke my best one, what I feel is the best, and then now my second to best is the best one I have left. You know what I'm saying, though? I never smoke the worst first. And that's just the way I live my life now. And I had a little redemption. Years later in Manhattan, I was driving a limo, and I was driving Big Time Tommy. Did you ever hear Big Time Tommy? He had like Carfellas, it was a TV show, and always, he's a real Italian guy. Anyways, I'm parking the limo in Chinatown, and I park, and I get out of the car, and I go, you think I can park here? And this guy goes, yeah, I don't see why not, forget about it. And I go, you smoke cigars? He goes, yeah. I gave him a Cohiba, and he goes, don't you know who the fuck I am? I go, I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're a man to be respected, so I gave you a Cohiba. He goes, I was in Sopranos, I was in Goodfellas, and it was the guy in Goodfellas Sopranos, he played the boss, and in Goodfellas, Casino, he said, well, if you're not sure, he's got to go. And so anyways, he played all these gangster.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's the guy that, in Sopranos, he was the boss in New York, and he choked on his tuna salad, and he fell asleep, and he died right there. Anyways, so here I am, and out of respect, I give this Cohiba to this stranger, and he's like, you don't know who the fuck I am? I was just being respectful. And then he said, hey, I'm going to the San Gennaro Festival. It was like down the block. He goes, you want to walk in with me, big guy? I said, sure. So they made him go walk in with Cohibas and walk him in, and then he's like, yeah, pretend you're my bodyguard. I said, no problem. So everyone tried to take pictures. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And it was such an experience. So sometimes in life, and that's what about cigars and respect. You never know. You have a moment like, I didn't know who he was, and I was just being respectful, And that was probably my greatest cigar moment, because that one cigar, I got to walk in with this guy from The Sopranos and Goodfellas into the San Gennaro Festival and pretend I'm his bodyguard. And meanwhile, I was just a limo driver. But
That's
Yeah. No, he went on the stage. He went on the stage, and I walked him up there and set a chair for him. And now I'm on the stage at San Gennaro. He's like, just stand there, make it look like he had a bodyguard, whatever. He didn't pay me no money, but it was the principle, you know. And you never know. Yeah, you never know about that. I think I'm gonna do one more question, and then I'll let you go. Let me see if I have one more serious question here. Okay, you got the Bull, the 25th anniversary, and the LG7 small batch on the table, full box. Lito Gomez says, "You're my best employee. Take whatever box you want. You get one box like that on the house. Which box is it and why?"
Well, I'm taking the small batch 7 because it's 105 cigars, so I get a lot more experience out of it. If they were all equal sizes, I would take the 25th anniversary. That blend to me is awesome. It's medium body, based off the Andalusian Bull. I'm a big Churchill smoker, and that's essentially a Churchill. It's a little fatter, so it's almost my perfect size in the perfect body for me. But I'd take this small batch 7 because 105 count blocks.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't realize that with the question. That question was a loaded question. So I'm sure Lito will be watching this tomorrow. So we got to give this guy a box of this. Now, how does that work with you? Do you get cigars? Like, do you get cigars in the house to sample, or how does that work? Being a rep, does he give you sticks, or do you get an allowance for that?
So the salespeople that I have, we allocate them a certain amount of cigars for each month as part of sales transactions. With the FDA, we're not allowed to give cigars to consumers, but we can sample them with our retailers as part of a sale. And then so I have that same allotment for myself as well, just to make it fair. But if there's something I want, I can grab what I want.
That's interesting.
It's not a big deal. I just take it. If it's something limited that I want, I'll ask just so they know that I'm grabbing it. I don't want to grab a box of Andalusian Bulls, unless why are you grabbing a box of Andalusian Bulls when we have 10,000 on order? I wanted to give one to my dad for his birthday or something like that. So they have no issue with that. So I can grab what I want, which is a nice little perk.
Now, I'll make one last statement before we go. As far as LFD, is it true once you make a brand, not limited edition, but once you make a regular release brand, you always will carry it? And that's why you don't constantly come out with new blends every year and forget about them. Once you make something, you will always make them. Is that true?
Not necessarily. I mean, we've discontinued lines in the past, and we've rebranded them and brought them back. We discontinued the Coronado line for a while. We just brought that back probably 3 or 4 years ago. And so, no, we'll tweak things from now and then. The FDA situation kind of changed that a little, because we essentially went back to producing almost everything we ever made, because we weren't sure which direction it's going. But no, we have in the past brought lines on, discontinued lines. We used to have a line called the Especiales that we don't make anymore. Our 2000 series is in production, but not really. So yeah, we've brought things in and removed different things and discontinued from time to time, change sizes and whatnot. So no, I mean, just because we make something doesn't mean we'll make it forever. Obviously, we try to, if we're going to bring something and put the effort behind it, we'd like to have it be a long-term project. So we give everything, a reasonable effort on it. And if we're confident with it, we may tweak it and and bring it back and be honest about it at the same time. We're not trying to trick anybody into anything, but no, I mean, if something's not working, we won't keep doing it. So we only make so many cigars, so if we make something and it's a dog, it doesn't make sense for us to keep making it when we can make more 700s, more diggers, more chisels, more bulls, more anything. So we're careful and very aware of what we're producing and making sure we're making the cigars that are in the highest demand.
Now, I just thought of something, so this is really my last question. I've seen, just as David Off has now made Nicaraguan cigars, and normally they do Dominican, on the vice versa, I've seen, let's say, Padron making the Damaso, trying to cut into, let's say, the Connecticut business, and even with the Cohiba, Connecticut. So you get brands that normally they're making the opposite of what they normally make. Will we ever see an LFD Nicaraguan Puro, or will that go against your company? It's just not going to happen.
So in terms of body and strength, we have mild to full body. We started on mild and we slowly worked our way to full. So our portfolio is very diverse in that regards. In regards to a Nicaraguan Puro, we own a 300-acre farm that we grow tobacco on. 80% of every blend we have is our own tobacco. so at a minimum 80% is going to be LFD grown tobacco. So no, we're never going to change that philosophy. We feel like our tobacco is the best. We feel like we have the best control over the tobacco we have for what we're trying to do and what we make. So no, you'll never see something that's fully not ours. It'll always be focused on our product and what we grow, because that's what we have the most control over and what gives us the signature flavor that we have.
I will say this, ending, that your brand, there's very few brands out there that I will say without any hype pricing. So I will say your brand, My Father, and there's a few other brands that when you look at the cigar, the box, and what you're getting, when you factor what the cigar is and then factor in the cost, I never feel ripped off with LFD. I have never said, okay, that was good, but it was, $47. So every time I can say LFD is you guys don't inflate your prices. Where I've seen other brands which I enjoy, and we've talked about some of those brands, I won't mention, but their prices constantly go, like I used to have them for, let's say, $14, and now they're $20. And, maybe they have other reasons why their costs go up. But what do you think is the main factor why your costs are not astronomical?
Well, because there's no middleman in between our products. The only people that need it to make money are us and the retailer. We're not making cigars for somebody else. So say I make the same exact cigar that I would sell for $9, and I make it for somebody else.
Yeah.
If I make it for someone else, I've got to make money. The person in between, that's the brand owner, has to make money. Then the retailer has to make money, so that inflates the price, right? And then, so if you look at some of these brands that are more expensive or different things, some of them it's justified that, that might be justified for what they're doing. But reality is there's only a handful of true vertically integrated manufacturers in this industry, and those are the ones that have the most reasonable prices. Like, you can get a Padron that's $5, or you can get one that's $100. You can get an LFD that's $5, or you can get one that's $30. Majority of the cigars we make are around $9.
Yeah.
Our average price point's about $9. You're looking like a Padron. The Padron series is anywhere between $5 and like $10, $11.
Yeah, if you're talking about the 1000 series, yeah.
Like $8. So again, there's no middleman in between there. There's nobody else that needs to make money. But I think one thing you said is important is we don't inflate our cigar prices, and we also don't deflate it. We try to make it as fair as possible. Is it fair to get a really low price? Yeah, it's fair as a retailer. That's fair as a consumer to get that. But sometimes that's not fair to the brand, and that's not fair to the retailer. But when you're doing that, it's important to also not inflate or deflate at the same time. It's important to stay in the middle, because what's the most fair is for you to be able to get the same product time after time at the same price.
Yeah.
And that's consistency. That's pricing consistency is very important too. So a lot of people say, hey, I can buy brand X for $10, or I can buy it for $5. Why can't I do that with you guys? Well, you can get our brand at $9 all the time.
Yeah.
You may never get. You're never going to you probably never have to pay $20 for it, and you're also never going to pay $5 for it. But you're always going to have to pay $9, and it works itself out. It's about the same, and as I said, that's part of consistency in the brand, and I think that's a big thing that big role that's played in the representation of our brand is what you said, the fairness, the consistency of it, and you never feel like you got gypped. Again, there's people that may not like the cigars, may not like the flavor. That's to their own. If somebody has an issue with it, we take care of it.
I can speak for that firsthand.
So we'll fix that, so you're always whole. Yeah. If you just don't like the flavor, that's fine. But the quality and the price point, I venture to say there's a very, very minuscule percent of people that have ever smoked a product that can say, hey, I felt like I got gypped.
Never. Not my experience. And I reviewed over 600 cigars, and like I'm brutally honest. You can tell it about me. I don't lie. And once you go CBID pricing, you never go back. So, for example, I'm not gonna lie. I like the Cameron wrapper on the Cohiba Red Dot, but for $20 at the store, I won't do that no more, because on CBID I get 5 packs for $22. So but CBID too, I've noticed a lot of flaws, like a lot of like damaged cigars or imperfect, like with holes in the binder and damage. So I've noticed with CBID, almost like not factory seconds, but not box worthy. And I've seen these 5 packs,
That changes your expectation. Then that's what you expect, and then you're not going to pay $20 anymore.
Yeah.
That's another way of doing business, and I don't wrong people. There's all sorts of different business philosophies.
Yeah.
But for a small brand like us that demand.
Ooh, my phone finally died. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna see if I can charge it up, get him back on the phone, and say goodbye. I apologize, folks. We went down to the battery
ending. So out of order cigars. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna see if I can get him back, and we'll see what we
My
can do.
phone died. I wanted, you know. I'm sorry about that. So I'm back on there. Well, okay, so we're finishing up talking about CBID, and I promise I'll get you out of here. So about the CBID, it's like the bigger companies. I feel they could do that. So let's say if you're making 20 million cigars, and I did reviews on this where everything in the 5-packs, maybe 2 or 3 out of them, some of the cigars actually have patches. Like there was a hole, and they used a piece of wrapper and used cigar glue and patched holes on the cigar. So these are cigars that won't be box worthy, and I feel like CBID is, oh yeah, you get the same thing. I hate to say it, you're getting cosmetically flawed or damaged cigars, and but these bigger companies, instead of throwing them out, they might, but that hurts the reputation of the brand.
Well, that's what I was saying before we died. There is, I mean, that goes along with brand integrity, and I said it's a different business philosophy, and that's fine. You know, when people ask me and they said, "Oh, this company does that," I have no issue with that. I respected their ability to do that. If I was in their position, I might make that decision. But you know, the brand that I'm running and the family that I represent, you know, we've talked about the consistency and whatnot tonight. You know, if we were doing that, it doesn't look consistent with the brand.
No.
And then we wouldn't have the reputation that we have. And really, what that does is, you know, on your end, it's not a negative thing, but like you're not going to spend $20 for that Cohiba anymore. Why would I do that? And then when I do it, maybe if I get a product that has some flaws or whatever, maybe that's why I'm getting a discount. But you know, I'm not. It really ruins what that product is. And I said it's a different business philosophy. They sell a lot more cigars than we do. They're experts at it. There's companies that sell plenty more than we do. There's plenty of companies that make way more money than we do. But I said what's been important to Lido, and this is why I fit with them, and why it's been a perfect situation for me, is it's always about making a great product and trying to make people happy every time. And we know we're going to fail it sometimes, but when you fail, how do you get better at it? How do you make sure you don't fail consistently? Is by trying to be great. And part of that consistency for us is running our business in that way. Could we make 20, 30 million cigars? Probably, but we'd have to give everybody 30% off, 40% off, be on CBID, be on all of these things. Those are definitely ways to sell cigars. It just doesn't fall in line with what we do. And I said I don't wrong the other businesses and brands and people that do that. You know, I don't wrong people that choose to buy those cigars. But it's just when somebody buys an LFD, they're not buying it for that. You know, sometimes stuff does pop up on there. I mean, when it doesn't, trust me, our customers and even consumers reach out to me. It's like, hey, I just want to let you know this was on here. You know, we try to find out and make sure that it's not. We really want to protect the brand. And it's not because we don't want people to get a good deal. I do. But I want, more importantly to me than getting a good deal is getting a great cigar and feeling good about it every time.
Yeah, and the main thing is, I think it really hurts the brick and mortar shop. And once you get rid of brick and mortar shops, you're at the mercy of a lot of different situations. Because let's just say they ban internet sales, and now what are you going to do? In Utah, you can't even buy cigars on the internet. So people think, oh, it's always so much cheaper on CBID. Well, besides the cosmetic issues, you run into other legal issues. And if I go in the brick and mortar shop and I get LFD Lennox for $6, and there would say it's 12 or 13, I'm never gonna buy that here, and now I'm hurting your brick and mortar sales. And you know what I'm saying though? And
you know, it does. That's a side effect of it, and it hurts the brick and mortar sales, which, as I said, for us, 98% of my business is brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So that hurts the brand. You know, and it does hurt those other brands too. You know, I guarantee that anyone that buys, you know, we've said Cohiba a few times, and I've got friends over at General Cigars,
Yeah.
Sean Williams, who represents.
And I enjoy their
great
products,
people.
you know.
They're good cigars. I enjoy them too. But I'm sure that they've run into people from time to time that say, "Hey, man, I'm just not going to buy these. I buy them online for $10, for 50% off, or I get a part of this, or I smoke this Cohiba." You know, they can say, "Oh, this is a different one. That's one that's online." But that's the image of the brand and the image of what it is, and that is damaging to a brick and mortar shop. And you know, it's a different way of doing business, and good for them and people that are behind it. But you know, for us, I want everyone to feel confident. I want the retailer to feel confident about it. I want you as a consumer to feel confident when you buy it. And you know, that's what's been instilled in me. And they said that's where Lido and Inez and I and the Gomez family line up. You know, that's a really important thing. Like I want when you have a cigar to have a great experience with it, and when it's an LFD, I want you to have a great experience every time. You know, and I want that experience to be the same time after time after time. So, well, are we perfect at it? No. Are we really good at it? Yeah, we're really good at it.
And you back your products up, and that's the most important thing. And the thing about brick and mortar is, I'm getting a place to watch the football game. I'm getting a place where I can sit down with the guys, because I can't smoke in my apartment. I can smoke outside. But in the wintertime, so when you go to brick and mortar, they're giving you a lounge to hang out at. I order sushi at Matador's, and I'm sitting there eating sushi and smoking my LFD. So the brick, and they make a cappuccino machine in the back. Now, so all these different things. Oh, you could, you could maybe bring something, whatever, to have a drink. So my point is, when you would support a brick and mortar store, you're also supporting a place to hang out. So I never mind paying full price at a lounge, because you're giving me a place to hang out and, let's say, get away from the wife or whatever it is and everything else going on. So I don't understand when people complain about, oh, it's full price at a lounge. He's giving you a leather chair and a bathroom. You know what I'm saying, though? And, like, people don't.
And you know what? They don't realize it until that's gone. And fortunately, you lived in New York your whole life, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, except for the service, yeah.
There used to be tons of places to smoke cigars on the island. There's still a lot of shops in New York because there's a ton of people, but there used to be at least double. And I would say the places that are there now are nicer. They're higher quality. They've got nice lounges. But there were still other nice lounges. There's several nice lounges that I remember even just 5, 6, 7 years ago that aren't in business anymore. And then people always wonder at the end, the same person that said, oh man, this cigar, I get a half price or whatever. The person that's complaining about that is the same person that's going to complain when the place goes out of business and be like, oh, why couldn't, Boris is not going to go out of business. He runs a good business, and he's got great stores. They're beautiful. I got a good relationship with him, and I really respect the way they run the business. But that person that complains to you about that would be the first person to be like, what, does Boris not know what the hell he's doing? He can't run a successful business?
Yeah.
I mean, why do you go out of business? I can do it. No, you can't, because it takes a lot of effort to do that. The reason that works is because they're providing a good service. Yeah, like, Matador is beautiful. They're some of the nicest stores in the country.
Yeah, they got the Davidoff store in Brooklyn as well.
If you buy a $15 cigar there that you can get for $5 somewhere else online, the reason it's $15 is because that's the price the manufacturers set. First of all, they don't price gouge, and then on top of it, he's selling it at full price because you're going to sit in a beautiful atmosphere and have a nice hostess around taking care of you.
And you're going to make friends. You're going to make friends.
Good friends, yeah, man. So I 100% agree. And people, by the way, people have the right to have that opinion, and I don't try to say negative, like, hey, if you want to do that, go ahead. But just realize if everybody does that, Matador won't be there.
No. And I feel like maybe...
Then you're going to wonder why you can't smoke anymore.
Yeah. And, maybe there's a mix of both. Like, maybe you order certain things when you can for at home or whatever, or you're handed something out. But I always support both. I bought cigars in there. At the same time, when I'm in town, I'm going to a cigar shop. So it's kind of like... for example, look at this. People buy online ammo. Well, when all of a sudden people start panicking, your order is 4 weeks away, 6 weeks away, but you can go into a shop. So just like with cigars, I might just want one cigar. I don't want to wait 3 weeks for my cigar to get delivered. And that cigar, when it comes in, it's not ready to be smoked. So when you go into a shop, you're getting more than just the cigar. You're getting something ready to be smoked. You could hang out right there. You could talk to the guy. They could order something you want, or what I'm saying. So there's a lot of. I fully support shops, but I do support the internet too, and I get that. But with CBID, I want people to know that unless you're buying a sealed box at full price, with Lucy's and 5-packs, I've seen a lot of flaws.
There's always a reason why something's discounted, right?
Yeah.
It's either because it didn't sell well on a brick and mortar level, and it goes to like not a consignment store, but it goes to a place like, I buy most of my clothes at Marshall's and TJ Maxx, because I'm not going to go to Nordstrom's and spend $200 on a shirt that's going to be $50 because it didn't sell. After the popular sizes are out or something, it didn't sell. So there's a reason things are discounted. It's discounted because somebody's getting a great deal on it. Or it's discounted because it just didn't sell well and somebody closed it out. Or there's something wrong with it. There's a reason why. Trust me. Everybody in any business would love to sell without any discounts. They would love to. Every business on the planet, if given the opportunity, would charge more if they could and sell the same exact amount.
Yeah.
But we're in a spot where you have to give deals. Like we do events, we do give deals. We're fair.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why things are discounted when it's not part of a promotion, like with somebody there or a sales promotion, or there's a reason things go on sale.
Yeah.
That's because there's a problem moving or they're trying to move more. So you've got to look at that and analyze it. And by the way, sometimes good stuff goes on sale, right?
Mm.
So that's what I look for. That's why I go to Marshalls and TJ Maxx. When they have a pair of Lucky jeans there, I buy them.
Yeah. Or cologne on sale, same cologne. I get it. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. So it's that stuff. Now sometimes there's something I want that doesn't go on sale, and I'll buy it. I treat myself a little bit.
Mm.
And then there's things that I regularly buy that don't go on sale just because I appreciate the service. I appreciate what I want. But whenever something's on sale, remember there's a reason. There's a reason why it's on sale. It's either to move more of it or because it didn't move.
It didn't move, or like I said.
Or there's something wrong with it.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I found a lot of Lucy's at 5-packs. When I feel up and down, I can feel like holes in the binder. So did it smoke okay? Sure, but my point is, if I was like, I've never felt LFD. You get it, and I'm like, oh, this thing is not, how do you say, cosmetically perfect. And so, you know what I'm saying?
Imagine though, Travis, if that happened in other businesses, say like in the wine business, where like you could buy wine if it had been open for a week.
Yeah, exactly. It was a crack in the bottle.
That's kind of the way I look at it. It's like, man, because the way I look at this too is like, there's a lot of good cigars out there that are low priced too.
Yep.
Like this, you can walk into almost any retailer anywhere, even in high tax states, and find a good cigar for $4 or $5. You can find maybe some closeouts on a brick and mortar shop that has, and they do closeouts.
Sure.
So there's good cigars there. So if you're looking around, I buy stuff online too. I don't buy cigars online, but I don't wrong people for buying products online.
No, but to blindly stop going to a shop.
But you can find something. If you can't find something in the cigar shop, and they're not willing to do it, they're not running a good business because the good retailers are bringing anything that you want, and they got a lot of fair prices. But I said, imagine that with wine, where like, hey, you can get wine 3% wine bid. Now they do wine bid, but it's closed bottle. But imagine another wine bid where it's like a wine that like the cork was out of it.
Yeah. Well, with Lucy's, they just send you 6 ounces of it, and it's it's I get it, but to me it hurts the brand. And like I said, once that happened, that's why the companies like LFD, Padron, My Father, David Off, I've never seen it on Zbid. Hey, right now get 5 Lucy's, for $12. It's just it's not gonna you're not gonna negotiate, because once you do that, I'm never going to want to buy it at the right price. But you can never maintain a business at a low price. So, for example, there was a shop in Huntington, the Huntington Humidor, and he stopped carrying Gurkha because he had the same cigar, and it was on a guy came in, he goes, I get that cigar for $3 on the internet. So he called the rep up, he goes, who's going to spend $12 on this? And so he stopped carrying Gurkha because he's like, I'm not going to sell the same cigar that's $3 for $12 at the retail price. He goes, no one's going to buy it, And so once you go CBID, you pretty much, unless it's a real big brand where you get what I'm saying, you really hurt the brand at the shop.
Yeah, it's across the board. If you do that with any brand, it hurts it. It's just a matter of time before it catches up with it.
Yeah, like you said. So instead of having $5 on CBID, $20 at the store, if you would have kept it at $10 always. Like what you guys are doing at a consistent price, I'm saying, no matter where you go. I've never seen, like I say, like a Chisel or a Lajero or whatever for $28. No one's gouging. You know what I'm saying, though? So I really appreciate brands that don't gouge me. I do respect, because after reviewing so many cigars, there's some brands that start to gouge and start to... Now, even though you have so much demand, how come you haven't raised the prices? You could. How come Lido hasn't gouged the price? You know what I'm saying? No, what makes it? Because he's...
About a year and a half ago, we had our first price increase in about 3 years.
Yeah.
We'll probably have another one in 2021, but it's always small. It's made. It really is just because of inflation. If you look at the inflation in the United States, our cigar actually costs less today, based off of what the strength is, based off inflation, than it did 10, 15 years ago. It's a matter, like I said, it's about keeping it fair. And I said, he's been successful. We've been successful. And I said, it's not just about making money. It's about providing that experience and providing a high quality cigar and a consistent experience. So part of that is pricing.
Well, I'm going to end it with that. I can definitely recommend LFD. I can say they're a consistent brand. Their quality control is second to none, even at cigars that cost double, because you guys don't gouge. And for example, and I'm just going to call it out there, there are companies, let's say and I enjoy Tatuaje cigars, but Tatuaje is made by my father. Now, in my opinion, if I'm my father, am I going to make better cigars for my competitor Tatuaje, or better cigars for my father? And all the Tatuajes I've smoked are $5 to $7 more than my father. So if LFD, let's say, made Tatuaje, they have to make money now. So it's like, maybe they're doing something different where maybe it justifies it, but at the same time, if you understand where brands come from, like Fuente does that for Ashton. But you know what I'm saying? So example, like, once you start doing that, or is that where companies do where they say, we want to own the competitor as well, so if you smoke Ashton or Fuente, you're still buying Fuente. Does that make any sense?
Well, this is not about their companies, but I'll just say in general, if you make something for somebody else, whenever you add another layer in a business, there's another layer that needs to make money, right?
Yeah.
In anything. So, like, say you and I are in the,
the hat business, making hats.
You know, or anything, hats, anything. So, you know, if we make it for ourselves, we make it and then we sell it.
Yeah.
If we make it for someone else, we make it for ourselves, we have to make money, then we sell it to someone else that has to make money, and then they sell it to a retailer that's going to make money. So whenever you add a layer, there's going to be added cost.
Right.
It just always is.
Yeah.
So those products will always be more expensive, just naturally, because, you know, also I don't want to make less money, because if I'm going to make something for someone else, I'm not going to make less by making it for them. I'm just going to make my money up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, when we make a cigar, an LFD, we make a cigar and then we've got to sell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To a retailer. If I make a cigar for another brand owner, they pay me up front, and they have to sell it to the retailer.
I see
And
that.
the retailer has to sell it. So, again, I'm not saying those brands in particular that you mentioned, I got good relationships with them.
No, and I was just using for example, you know, that's all.
But that's just the law of business. Whenever you add another layer before it gets to the end user, there's going to be more costs. It's just the cost is going to be there because somebody's got to make money along the line. You can't, you know, that's what, you know, my biggest example, Travis, uses is like when people say, oh man, I got this great hookup on Cuban cigars. They get them like 40% off.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I get them shipped in here. My uncle works for the CIA or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I said, okay, so you're getting Cubans at a discount. I go, they're fake. And they're like, why? No, they aren't. Because, tell me, out of all these people, so the Cuban government, Cuba makes a cigar, they ship it to Spain.
Yeah.
Your uncle then buys it from somebody in Spain. And then out of the kindness of all their hearts, they all decided to lose money so you can get it at 40% off. They care about you so much that they lose money. Each person along the way is going to lose money for you to get a discount. I go, it doesn't work that way.
No.
I go, so if you're getting, now, if it's a closeout, yeah, that's a different story. If it's something that's been done with, yeah. But no, like, you're going to get Cuban Cohibas at 40% off?
No.
They're fakes.
No, my father brought them back from Italy. The 3-pack of Siglo 6s from a real, I said go to a real government store with tax stamps. And it actually had health warning. If there's no health warnings in Europe, it's fake. There has to be health warnings. And it was $105 in euro for a 3-pack.
Yeah.
That's the right.
The health warning thing's great too. So not only did they decide along the way to give you a discount, along the way they decided to break the laws in
Yeah.
these different countries
Yeah.
by having no tax stamps, having no this or that. So because they care about you so much,
Yeah.
they all decided to lose money and break laws.
Yeah. If there's no health warning on European cigars, it's fake. You know, and then they go on there, and let's just say, even if they're real, I've had certified real ones. Sometimes with these Cuban cigars, the wrapper looks like binder, and that's just my opinion. And so, and
That's a discussion on quality, but just sheer price point.
Yeah.
Whenever you add another layer, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
So whenever you're getting something like that, the Cuban cigars, you're not getting them at a discount.
No.
And when you're getting something else, if it's made by somebody else, if it's made by someone that makes something that they already sell, when they make it for someone else, it's going to cost more. It's just naturally how it works. And you know, hopefully in those products, which I believe they do too, if they make something different and it's special, you know, the companies you mentioned do that. You know, an Ashton Classic is different than, you know, than a King B. You know, a Tatuaje is different than a My Father.
Yeah.
You know, there's different blends and they're unique tobaccos. And that's special. You got to do that because if not, you're just passing along there. But I said naturally, this is how business works. Like somebody's not going to take a loss just so you can get a deal.
Yeah, and my opinion on that is if another company is making cigars for another company and just change the name, would you make a better cigar for your competitor? Or for, you get what I'm saying? So if, let's say I'm LFD and me, Dane Malazzi, Travis Bickle on Facebook. I want you to make a cigar called the Travis. Is LFD going to make a better cigar for Travis or me? Now I understand that they made it for me, but if you're sitting there and I'm giving you $10 a stick and you can make a $10 cigar. Now I gotta sell it for 16, but am I getting really the same? How could you give me this? Why would you give me the better cigar than yours?
If we were to do that, hopefully we would make it at least as good as our cigars.
Okay, I see. I can see that.
What would be the purpose of making it better if you could already make something better and get that price point? Like if I can make a cigar that you're gonna have to sell for $20, why wouldn't I just make it and sell it for $20?
Well, the only reason to this I can think is this: market share. Because there are people, no matter what, aren't going to smoke LFD. People love it and hate it. But if you make another company that's not called LFD, now they might buy it and they're buying your brand and they think it's something else. Does that make any sense?
100%. 100% it does. What on our end, what we look at is, looks like for LFD, we're only making a set number of cigars. So if we can make something higher end and we have some special tobacco, guess what? It's going to get an LFD branding on it.
Right.
And we're going to make something special out of it.
Right.
Because one, that's more fair to you. So a cigar that might cost $20, we can make it for 15.
Right.
Make more money on it. Those layers whenever you add a layer to any business, everything's gonna cost more. So
I think that's a strategy for like very tremendous companies. Because they're like my friend, he's an Ashton guy, and he's like, "No, I don't like Fuente. I like Ashton." And when I told him, I was like, "Well, that is Fuente." He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So it's like, but maybe that was the whole point. They didn't want people to know that. And that way, like I said, it's like buying Cadillac or a Chevy, and it's not the same thing, but you know what I'm saying? It's a different brand,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's definitely circumstances. Ashley makes it very noticeable, very well known that it's made by Fuente. It says it on the box.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's definitely companies that do that. There's companies that do that, in every industry. There's a lot of private labels in the wine business. Tons of private labels in the wine business. Where you're drinking the same type of juice, drinking the same juice for more or less money.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens in every business. People that make cars, companies that used to make cars, different things.
Yeah.
It happens in everything.
Yeah, lots of. I know I keep on saying I'm gonna end it, but this is it. With these boutique brands, a lot of people say big companies like, let's say, My Father, LFD, or whatever. Big companies, Monte Cristo. Well, I don't like those cigars. I like boutique brands, and I try to tell people a lot of these boutique brands are made by these big companies. Like General Cigar owns a lot of small boutique companies, and people don't realize it. And they, you know what I'm saying? Though, like that they work. It's almost like Budweiser bought all these craft beer companies.
And on top of it too, you have a lot of the same growers too. So you have a lot of similar growers. You asked what makes our brand unique. Well, we control the tobacco because it's ours. It's not going in anything else. There's a lot of major growers, so there's a lot of similar tobaccos out there. Nestor Plasencia, the Plasencia family is one of the biggest manufacturers.
Great company. I respect Plasencia, and I love Plasencia.
Yeah, and they make great stuff. But there's a lot of brands that you can smoke that you and I can list 10 brands that are made by Plasencia. I can list probably 30 brands that use tobacco grown in Plasencia. So, we buy stuff from them. We buy some of our Nicaraguan tobacco from them.
I didn't know you guys use Nicaraguan in some of your blends.
Yeah, we use some Nicaraguan, some stuff, yeah. But you buy that tobacco, so we go in, they sell us good tobacco, we age and ferment it ourselves, so it gets our own techniques. And then they start making cigars for their own brand. Then they make cigars for other people. Down the line, where are you going to think the quality's at? The quality's going to be at the people buying the tobacco first, then the cigars they make for themselves, and then the cigars they make for somebody else. Because, as I said, when you make a cigar and you're selling it yourself, you have to then sell it. That takes time and money. When you can just sell tobacco, guess what? You sold it, and now it's their problem to sell the cigars or make a cigar and sell something.
Right.
So if you can do that beforehand, it's a lot easier, and you're gonna, you don't have to put the time and effort in to sell it.
Well, also I think
when you have these people buying from different places, I think we're at a time where most of the products we're smoking are excellent, even
Right.
the ones that fall in that category. But when you pick out, like when I named you the brands I smoke, La Flor, Padron, Fuente, Aroa, Davidoff, there's something they all have in common. They exclusively, their top priority is either They're putting the best tobacco in those cigars, and I know I'm not going to get a better experience from anything else I smoke. The best experience I get is something that says their names on it. So that's why I smoke what I smoke. I'll try everything else, but when I spend my money on those 5 brands because I just trust it. You know, I trust, I know where it's coming from, I understand it, and I know that's the best bang for my dollar.
And you know, and the thing about, let's say, with boutique brands though, and I just actually interviewed a company, Wolfhard Tobacco, that works with Placencia. If you're a boutique brand, I think it would behoove you to do like what they did, is to have a major company make it for you, because that's a major selling point. Because let's just say me and you start a tobacco company. Yeah, but where's the tobacco grown? Who's it come from? Well, let's say if we could say LFD, if we could say General, if we could say Placencia, that's a major selling point because you trust that brand. So it's like if you are going to go boutique, it really behooves you to know where you're getting it from. You know what I'm saying? Though it's, if you don't know where it's coming from, like you said, people trust names for a reason. Like Oliva, for example, another big brand. There's big brands that there's a reason why they're so big. You know, So it's definitely interesting about with boutique and big and small brand collaboration. But I do feel some small brands can eventually branch out and maybe eventually make their own tobacco as well. It's possible. I mean, LFD is a prime example, right? He started off, he didn't start off originally having fields, right? He started off.
No. Yeah, he was buying tobacco from the growers in the Dominican Republic, and that's what led to him. He's like, I don't want to make mild cigars. I don't want to just be another mild Dominican cigar. He really wanted to separate himself, and so that's why for us it's important, vitally important to maintain the best tobacco that we can and use exclusively as much of ours as we can, because that's what makes us unique and that's what makes us special and makes our products different than others.
Yeah. Well,
on top of the other things we discussed.
Yeah, well, we definitely discussed a lot. I hope I didn't take too much of your time tonight. Hopefully you still got to enjoy your game.
It was honestly perfect timing,
Yeah.
because I said that it was beautiful out.
Yeah.
I decided to throw some wood in my fire pit, lit up some tiki torches, so this was good to pass the time, my friend.
Well, that's what it's all about, is having a good time. Cigars is all about having a good time. Why do I want to have a bad time? When it comes to cigars, the best part of my day, I went to work all day, went to the gym in the morning. This is my time to relax, and I got to know you, and everyone now, when they watch this, they'll get to know more about you and the brand, and you know what I'm saying? It just brings people down to earth. You know what I'm saying? No, the men behind the tobacco, and I appreciate you coming here, and I don't take your time lightly, so thank you so much for coming Out of Order Cigars.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having me on. And anytime you need anything, let me know.
Definitely.
I'll see you sooner than later, hopefully.
Absolutely. And on the last note, are you a Steven Seagal fan? Like late 80s, early 90s, the classic Seagal?
Of course.
And that's why you're a winner. And have you seen Richie? You got his best movie, I feel, was Out for Justice, and he's knocking him around the bar. And I always say on every show, anybody seen Richie? I even made a song for it if you look on it. So it's just something every show we talk about. Have you seen Richie? Have you seen him in Maine? Is Richie in Maine?
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is about what we were talking about consistency? That's why Steven Seagal is so great. Every movie he has is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting every time.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he's at a church, if he's at a bodega, a 7-Eleven, a bar. You know shit's about to go down. And if he asks you, have you seen Richie? I don't know why people are rude to him in the movie. Like, you're about to die. You're about to, and honestly, my cousin, who's a professional martial artist, met him in real life. He went to his house, and he worked with a movie with back in the day, Mortal Kombat. And I asked him, I said, listen, I have tons of love and respect for Seagal. But in real life, when you met him, is he really... And you know what he said? He said he's the scariest son of a bitch you ever met in real life. And nobody in real life would talk shit to him face to face. He said his hands are so big and his arms are so long. He's about 6... He says if he grabbed you, that's it. And I know he gained weight and whatever, but he said nobody in real life... You would never see a video in real life, me, you, or anyone else, talking shit. And he's a badass, my cousin-in-law. And it really touched my heart when he went to his house and he said... First off, he's carrying 245s every day. Wherever he goes, 245s. Hammerback, ready to rock. I don't think he's playing. So I have a lot of respect for Seagal. I know he became kind of a parody of himself. But if Steven Seagal's out there, much love to Master Sensei.
Seagal's the man.
And no, like I said, nobody's talking shit to cigar. I've never. Whoever wants it, I want to see it really happen. You're not going to do it. If I store a cigar, I'm not. Would you talk shit to cigar? I wouldn't. I would.
No, absolutely not.
That's a lose-lose.
He can take you out with like snapping his fingers.
No, I'm not even like. I don't know. It might be, he's as legit as it gets. I understand people talk shit, but when my cousin went to his house and he told him, he said, "No, that guy's too scary. You know, of course you're not gonna. You could beat him in a race and etc. etc. But if he has you cornered, that's it. Lights out. That's it. So, but I wish you well, man, and all respect to Mr. Lito Gomez. His LG line, I highly recommend. Small batch, well worth the money. And his LG 2013 just scored a godlike on this channel. One of the, only 4 cigars that got that out of 600. So we don't take that lightly. So much respect, brother.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. Oh, and don't go to prison, guys. Stay chill.